Welcome everyone, we're Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, and the websites by plebs. Alright, let's dive into the numbers.
Number time! Number Time is brought to you by Bitcoin 2022. It's going to be the largest Bitcoin conference ever, hosted in sunny Miami Beach. But be quick, get your tickets now before the price goes up, but take advantage of the link down below to get 10% off your tickets to Bitcoin 2022.
At the time of this recording, the block height is 713,443, the Bitcoin price 48,160, chain rewrite days 774, total public lightning capacity 3,294.62, Moscow time 2076, blocks to the halvening 126,557. The numbers.
The numbers.
There you go.
Took a little bit of a tumble. Cheaper sats. Cheaper sats. But yeah, man, this channeling, we've been doing this for like 2 or 3 months, Phil, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect time because we were getting some messages every time we do a video on essentially the BSV guys, right? We always get crap for it. So, I thought it would be appropriate, Phil, if we were to respond to some of these messages. This one is by Macros. He says, quote, I'm going to pull it up for you guys, of course. Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. It has moved completely away from the white paper where in the title it says it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash, not HODL, fake gold. BSV is Bitcoin and has many more uses than Bitcoin and ETH combined in its current state as well. So, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about BSV's current state. What do you think, Phil?
I can't believe we're going to do this. I'll send you the link for the hash rate chart.
Oh, I already thought of it.
Oh,
anyways,
okay. Thank you.
Check this out. This is
pointless.
The current state of BSV. This happened August 7th, 2021. Mind you, Phil and I were looking at BSV's pool distribution, and this happened the next day. Bitcoin SV rocked by 351% attacks in as many months. Let me reread the comment. BSV is Bitcoin and has many more uses than Bitcoin and ETH in its current state as well. Okay.
I'd love that if we were transacting value and all of a sudden this happened to us.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's such a great use case.
51% attacks. Great, right? But hey, let's keep going. Anyways, let's check this out. This is the current pool distribution of BSV. 36% and 17%. A majority is owned by 2 mining pools. And let's compare that to Bitcoin, shall we? Oh, look, what is that, Phil?
That does look a little more distributed, Nico.
Yeah, I think so too. But wait, hold on, Phil. There's more. Let's check out Bitcoin and BSV's hash rate. Remember what I told you guys? The hash rate is the value proposition of...
Nico.
Yeah.
Where's the BSV hash rate?
Oh, good question, Phil. You see this little red line all the way here that you can barely see? Yeah. And if you compare it, right, look at the numbers, right? When BSV first started, it was at 1.2 exahashes and Bitcoin was at 35 exahashes. And this was back in 2018. If you fast forward till now, Bitcoin's is 191 exahashes and Bitcoin SV is actually lower than where it was in 2018. So, dude, what's your name? Macros? What the F are you smoking, my friend?
It's just a BSV shill.
We just showed you some facts, so please feel free to let us know down in the comments what exactly you're talking about. Bitcoin has much higher security. Bitcoin has much better pool distribution. Bitcoin has 100, probably 1,000, 10,000 times more value transacted per second than BSV. So what the F are you talking about? You're holding a shitcoin. You're holding garbage. And I get you. I understand. I have been there. I shitcoined back in 2017, back in the day. And I understand what it is to hold a shitcoin and hoping that shitcoin goes up. But not only has the hash rate gone down, not only is the pool distribution atrocious that has led to a 51% attack, BSV tumbled from the top 10 cryptocurrencies. I think it's 72. I'll pop up the exact ranking where it is. So what are you doing, bro? Last episode, all we provided, we weren't talking shit about BSV. We were talking crap, not really talking crap. We were essentially giving our perspective, our opinions on the Craig Wright trial, in which he lost $100 million he has to pay. So I have no idea what it is you guys are trying to accomplish. But if you want to keep trying us, we're just going to keep bringing you the receipts. You guys have nothing. You're holding dog shit. And that's the reality, Phil.
Oh man, you know what, Nico? I wish you could just pull up like a tombstone right next to me here, because you totally wrecked them. I mean, look, there's not really much I can add to this. All I can say is, to your point about shitcoining, right? Obviously, we've explained it multiple times. We've been there. I know that sometimes it seems, that we're quote unquote, not compassionate, towards that and, making fun. But sometimes, okay, seeing how absurd some of these things are is what you need to wake up and really, really examine what it is that you're thinking. Okay, like to me, when I first got into this space and I was holding these bags of total crap, I used to see these Bitcoiners that were ultra aggressive in some cases, and they weren't tolerating any shitcoin nonsense from anybody. And back then there was no BSV. It didn't exist yet. Okay, didn't even exist yet. So all of this nonsense that they're feeding you about, the protocol has changed, it's been taken over, all of this is garbage. They need you to believe this so that you'll sit there and shill their crap. It's centralized garbage. Anyways, the point that I'm making is that, back then I saw these toxic Bitcoiners, and you know what? Seeing these types of comments, seeing these conversations is what made me sit there and re-examine over and over again what it was that I was doing here and why it was that I was holding these bags. Okay, so this is not what you guys think it is. This is a war for your money, okay? This is a war for your money, and it's the best money that's going. It is the best money that's going to win. And Bitcoin is the best. It has all of the proper qualities. It actually solves the correct problem. BSV is, unfortunately for them, it's a shit fork of a shit fork. It was forked from BCH. BCH was forked from BTC. It doesn't matter what chart you come up with that shows, oh, but look at this protocol chart that I just made up on my own and decided that that's the truth. That's not actually how it worked. Okay? It forked. The people that are selling you this garbage know this. They know this, but they're incentivized to lie to you.
But
anyways,
hold on. Yeah. Let's put our opinions aside. Okay.
Sure.
Let's put our opinions aside. The facts are, okay, and we just showed it to you. We always put the links down below. You can verify it yourself. BSV has less hash rate than Bitcoin, meaning it's more prone to a 51% attack to a computational attack. Period. That already happened. That's not theoretical. That happened this year already. BSV has less nodes. It's less distributed. It's less decentralized. That's also a fact. And the price reflects that. The actual Caca fiat price reflects what we are saying. So even if you want to spin up all this propaganda about Craig being Satoshi, which he's not, but let's give you the benefit of the doubt. The matter of a fact is that Bitcoin is more decentralized, it's more secure, it's more censorship resistant, it's more widely used. The Bitcoin node count is in the hundreds of thousands, and the BSV node count is in the tens. And those are facts, undisputable facts that you could verify as a benefit of an open monetary network. So again, if you want to keep with the propaganda that's not based on reality, dude, you do you. but you're going to wreck yourself in the process. Anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Fail. The Daily Fail is brought to you by Amber App. Check them out, amber.app. It's Bitcoin made easy. It is a Bitcoin buying platform by toxic Bitcoiners. Check out the link down below.
All right, kind of heated, the whole BSV thing. I'm going to ask Yellow, though. Yellow, do you think Craig Wright is Satoshi?
No, malaka.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, say what you gotta say.
Amber, the smart way to stack sats.
So we took a little bit of a different spin on this fail, Nico. We're staying away from the shit coins. We're gonna dive into the circus that is the clown world that we live in. Let's take a look at some interest rates. Let's take a look at some inflation, and let's tie some stuff together and see if we find an emerging pattern, maybe. Anyways, Brazil's central bank makes 150 BPS interest rate hike, signals another. So that means they just made 150 basis point interest rate hike, and they are signaling another one already. Brazil's central bank on Wednesday raised interest rates by 150 basis points and signaled another such hike in February, waging one of the world's most aggressive battles with inflation, even as Latin America's largest economy has tipped into recession. Just want you to pay attention to the wording there. Waging one of the world's most aggressive battles with inflation. They're telling you a story, okay? And they're the what's it called? Oh, it's killing me now.
Maple syrup.
Not maple syrup. Damn it, it starts with a P.
You didn't take enough maple syrup this morning.
I didn't. Oh, I'm totally forgetting. Anyways, they're trying to make themselves seem like the hero, right? That's what they're trying to make themselves seem like. But I know someone's going to know what this word is that I'm thinking of. I totally can't think of it right now. It doesn't matter. Anyways, okay, here we go. The bank's rate setting committee, known as COPAM, decided unanimously to raise its benchmark interest rate to 9.25% as forecast by all 31 economists in a Reuters poll. Policymakers have hiked the rates 7 times this year from 2.0. That's the interest rate. Okay.
Because we always get corrected, it's fucking Reuters.
Reuters. I always say Reuters.
I made the same mistake for so long, and then my dad, he watched the show one day. It's Reuters, and I'm like, I don't care. And then someone in the comments was like, guys, it's Reuters. So I'm like, okay.
Damn it! All right,
it's Reuters. It's Reuters.
All right, it's Reuters. We'll get it right. It's the EU. It just makes me think Reuters.
It's the British, bro. It's the weird. It's okay.
Reuters.
No, it's okay. I like British people, but
okay.
It's strange. Okay, it's a strange pronunciation.
Just put the O.
We could all
trying to trick us.
We can all agree that it's a strange pronunciation. All right.
Look, I'm not that smart. If they put the O, I would be able to read it. Anyways, here we go. The committee will persist in its strategy until consolidating the disinflation process and the expectation anchoring around its targets. Words. We're going to do what we have to do. Okay, that's it. They definitely wouldn't want me writing this. Everyone would get really upset. Anyways, here we go. Weaker currency, severe drought, and higher fuel prices help to push consumer prices 10.7% higher in the 12 months to mid-November. That is the hottest inflation among G20 countries, except for Argentina, which has left interest rates unchanged in 2021, and Turkey, which has shocked markets by slashing rates after raising them early this year. So we were just talking about the inflation, right? So here we go. We found a Bloomberg article from November 25th. Brazil's inflation near 11% despite aggressive rate hikes. Okay. So hold on, because this is going to get this is the whole point of it is not just to look at all these articles, right? But to essentially draw this pattern that I'm going to pull together, and you'll see this is kind of creepy stuff, and we're just not headed in the right direction. Okay. Annual inflation accelerated at 10.73% above the 10.69% median estimate in a Bloomberg survey. Consumer prices rose 1.17% from the month prior, the National Statistics Agency reported on Thursday. Okay, so we know the story. We get it. Prices are going up. All right, fine. So, went to go take a look at Brazil's money supply, right? Had no choice. Had to go take a look at Brazil's money supply. That chart looks very familiar, Nico. Mm-hmm. Looks familiar to the one that you show almost weekly, okay? Mm-hmm. Just wait. All right, so then it got me thinking, what about the world's money supply? from all of these countries. Who's increasing their supplies the most? Not that it should matter, but the point is that you take a look at what's happening, and everybody has the same bag of tricks, which tells me that nobody has been basing anything that we've been doing on reality. Okay, that's what this tells me. Anyways, okay, here we go. Let's take a look at some of these countries, and let's take a look at how much their money supply, how much their money has increased in the last 12 months. So we've got Argentina at the top with 45.62%. We've got Burundi with 26.9%. We've got Azerbaijan with 21%. All right, everybody gets the idea. This link is going to be in the show notes so everybody can go take a look at countries printing themselves into oblivion. Okay, so we've got the Fed chart, right? Our famous Fed chart that I mentioned before. Take a look at what we're doing with the money supply. Does that look familiar to the Brazil chart you just saw? Looks familiar? All right, well, let's go take a look at Argentina. They're in the same boat. They're doing the same thing. Okay, and keep in mind, I've maxed these charts out, so you can see that this is the max, this is the max time frame that they'll give us. Look familiar? Yes, it does. All right. This country, I got to be honest with you, I never heard of. Never heard of Burundi. But guess what? They apparently have the same bag of tricks. Okay. Azerbaijan. Look at them. Looks like they actually tried to fix something, but I'm pretty sure something went wrong around 2016. Let's just go back to the same old bag of tricks and let's just keep printing money because that's what seems to work until everybody figures it out. Okay. So one of the countries, right, that we didn't see at the top of that list was China, right? But take a look at China's money supply. They're not doing anything different. Okay? The only difference is that they have more of a totalitarian regime. So it keeps everything very insular, okay? But they're doing the exact same thing. It's the same bag of tricks. This is the money supply from China. And then I just wanted to also show the Eurozone. These charts all look the same, people. These people are all just doing the same thing. I just decided to just, take a different spin and go take a look at all of this money printing around the world, okay? Take a look at that. And imagine that Bitcoin actually solves this very simply by taking the money printing out of the hands of the money printers. That's it. But you see what I'm saying? Like, everybody seems to think that, well, we've got these experts and they're looking into it. But at the end of the day, look at what I just showed you. All of these countries have these experts. They're all looking into it. And they're all doing the same thing. They're not looking into it. It's brutal. Okay, I'm done.
Dude. Wow. Yeah, we never looked on that, unfortunately, and we should do a better job, honestly, at this, because all I do is focus on the M2 money supply during the news, but, I think that's a disservice, Phil, because, a lot of people watch us from overseas. I know we have a lot of fans in Germany and Brazil, and, dude, they're doing the same thing than they're doing in the U.S. The same exact thing. This is theft at such a magnitude on a worldwide scale. It's absolutely insane. It's like people have to pay for government's inefficiencies, for government's failures, and none of these politicians pay the price. It's nope. Like they get they get promoted in their administrative state and their countries, right? Nothing happens. It's like honestly, guys, voting isn't going to get you out of this. Voting is not going to fix this problem. You need to take the power of the money printer away from governments. You need to democratize it, and that's exactly what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin makes it so that anybody, if you have power, it doesn't matter whether the U.S. government, it doesn't matter if, you're just a humble plebe mining at home. If you have the necessary electricity and power to pay to mine, you can now make your own Bitcoin. You're just like everybody else. Man, and just this monopoly that governments have on the creation of money, dude, I think it is responsible for some of the world's evils, man. So much of the world's evils, dude. Because this is crazy, dude. It's happening everywhere. This is theft. You get paid in this money. And especially like this year, if you didn't make more than 15 to 20% which is what we feel is the actual rate of inflation. You know, the actual, what they say is 6.9. But let's go by the actual rate, right? Because listen, in the actual CPI, energy and food costs aren't included. Okay.
Go fill your tank.
Let's be real. Okay, let's be real. If you include food and energy, it's much higher than that 6%, roughly 6% that they give you. And in Brazil, 10%, dude. 10%. And you know who gets hurt the most by this, Phil? Is people that need it the most. Because those people can't afford to invest in real estate. They can't invest, they can't afford to invest in stocks. They're living paycheck to paycheck, and the value, the paychecks that they're getting, it's becoming, the fiat value stays the same, the number stays the same, but the purchasing power takes a hit. It's despicable, and the rich get richer. The Cantillon effect. The people that benefit the most from the money spigot are the people at the top 1% of the pyramid and the state. This is such craziness, dude. And we're expected to pay taxes, and we're expected to pay capital gains tax, and we're expected to pay a death tax, and we're expected to pay a gift tax. It's like, dude, it's man, this is absolutely insane. But the good news, I think there's a silver lining here, is that Bitcoin fixes this. It really does. And you're already seeing countries creating incentives, essentially, to tell Bitcoiners to come here. There's 0% capital gains tax, 0% income tax in Bitcoin City in El Salvador. In Portugal, you have 0% capital gains tax, right? And I suspect we covered that article from South Korea. The South Korean politicians didn't want to raise, they wanted to postpone, you know, the capital gains on crypto because of the younger population is so heavily invested in Bitcoin. And unlike every other asset, right? Because if you buy real estate, it's tied to a certain jurisdiction. You can't just pick up that house and leave, right? If you buy stocks, you know, it's tied to that certain jurisdiction, right? Like, think about it. You can't transfer your Robinhood stocks away to another country. You can't take that with you, right? But with Bitcoin, you could literally get up and leave. So I think what's going to end up happening is all we hear nowadays is essentially people coming to the U.S. border, sneaking into the U.S. border. What I suspect is going to happen, especially in countries that most benefit from the legacy fiat money printer, is that you're going to see people escaping those countries, going to more favorable jurisdictions that they're not just getting milked by. And think about it. Where is that money from taxes actually going? First of all, they spend more money every year than they collect. They spend more money every year than they collect in taxes. So they're not even responsible for it. It goes to wars. It goes to social programs that you might not necessarily agree with. Look at all the violence happening all around U.S. cities. And I'm only talking about U.S. because that's where I live and that's what I'm familiar with. But it's like, so where is this tax money going? It is such a scam to epic proportions that only the fiat system enables. And wow, dude, it's so disappointing, man. And I really think Bitcoin fixes this because it de-incentivizes you to save. And if you're not spending, if you're not selling, it's not a taxable event. So, man, thank you for that, Phil. And guys, we'll do a much better job at covering the inflation and the money printing in other countries. Yeah. I was just completely blind to it until Phil showed that. So thank you, Phil. Oh my God. The good news is though, guys, like always, Bitcoin fixes this.
That's
Phil,
right.
It's time for the daily meme reviews. The Daily Meme Review is sponsored by Citadel 21. It's the best Bitcoin cultural zine. It's awesome stories by Bitcoiners, toxic, savage Bitcoiners, really cool stuff, different artwork, every copy, and they're scarce. There's only 83 made per volume. I mean, 83. There's 1,000 made per volume. This is copy 83. Anyways, get your copy of Citadel 21 today. All right, the first meme is brought to us by a savage plebe at BTC Aaron. Anyways, check it out. It's a guy riding on a bike. Puts a bike in the tail. Damn maxis. And that's exactly what it is, dude. Everyone just blames the maxis. The way that we see it, guys, is that, look, toxicity is very inconvenient to scammers and shitcoiners because toxicity is the truth. We're not talking about insults. We're not talking about any derogatory things. But what they tend to do, shitcoiners, scammers, is that when you call out their scams, you know what they do? They call you toxic. And I think that's exactly what this meme represents. Anyways, moving on to the next one. It is by Orwell and Goody. The year's 2041. All images in existence belong to Google Prime. Meme distribution is illegal, punishable by death. I roam the wastelands, projecting Wojaks into the sky to let the people know that freedom still lives. I am the last memer. This is my story. Awesome, dude. Very, very
well done.
Very, very well done. Anyways, next one is brought to us by our friend, Honk Hogan. China, we ban all Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin hash rate recovery. And he has the communism hammer and sickle. Amazing. All right, next one. It's by the legendary RD_BTC. If you're selling, Sailor is buying. Just remember that. Bitcoin. Do not sell your Bitcoin to Michael Saylor. Do not sell your Bitcoin to Michael Saylor. Do not sell your Bitcoin to Michael Saylor. Highly accurate. Never sell your Bitcoin. I have always regretted it when I have. Anyways, moving on to the next one. It is by Simple Jack Capital. And this one came out because Twitter banned the Nancy tracker, and when it means the Nancy tracker, the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker, and the Glanweed Maxwell trial. For some reason, those two accounts that were gaining steam, a lot of followers, were conveniently banned. What's going on there? Did Nancy tap on some shoulders? I don't know. Anyways, ban insider trading? No. Ban Twitter accounts exposing insider trading. Absolutely phenomenal memes. These are the power of memes. They're so efficient at conveying a message. And in honor of what's going on with the world today, Phil, I'm going to give it this book. It's called A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's an incredible book of a dystopia in... maybe it was in the distant future. I don't know, but I highly recommend you reading it. And I'm just going to say one thing. Soma. If you know, you know. Phil?
That is a great book. And Aldous Huxley should be mandatory reading. He wrote also The Doors of Perception and The Perennial Philosophy, which are amazing books. Anyways,
by the way, before you go, this book has actually been banned. It was banned when it first came out. Mm-hmm. And that's when you know, just like today, some of those accounts get bans, right? Because they're inconvenient to the elites. When this book came out, it was banned by many places. Just imagine. This is a fictional story. Right? Anyways, Phil?
Yeah, so look, those were epic memes, okay? And for that, I am going to give it... I think I've given it before, but I think that this is it's a very... it's a fitting score, okay? I'm going with my Zoltar thing.
Oh.
The fortune teller. That's right.
Where's the price of Bitcoin going to be?
Fortune teller.
Where's the price of Bitcoin going to be at the end of the year, Phil? Everyone wants to know. Everyone wants to know. Well, you don't get to know because this isn't a TA channel. But anyways, guys, you know the drill. Lots of censorship going on these days. You saw the I can't pronounce her name. The Maxwell.
Ghislaine
Maxwell tracker that was censored.
Or is it Ghislaine?
I don't know. Who knows? The Nancy Pelosi. She knows. The Nancy Pelosi tracker also banned because they were speaking the truth, and the truth is inconvenient to some of those people in power. So just in case, make sure to subscribe to Simply Bitcoin on Rumble.com and on BitcoinTV.com. We post Monday through Saturday, rain or shine. So if you don't find us on YouTube, you could find us there, and we post no matter what, unless we explicitly tell you, and we always tweet something on YouTube. And of course, guys, let us know if you agree with our meme review with our scores, and join our Simply Bitcoin Telegram channel and link us some Bitcoin memes to review, because it's a Bitcoin meme review. But anyways, Phil, it's time for the daily news. The Daily News is brought to you by CryptoCloaks.com. Get yourself the best 3D printed Bitcoin merch, like the 3D printed Honey Badger. Look, it opens, you can put your favorite hardware wallet, or the 3D printed Bitcoin grenade art. Really cool stuff. Put your open dimes. Awesome, awesome stuff. And you can take advantage of the link down below for 5% off. CryptoCloaks.com. Oh, fuck you, Sailor. That's what I have to say about this. Phil, he's just buying it all.
Again?
Yeah, again.
Again?
There
will be no fields left.
He's just racking it all in. MicroStrategy has purchased an additional 1,434 Bitcoin for $82 million in cash at an average price of $57,000 per Bitcoin. As of 12/9/21, we hodl. I love how he puts hodl. 122,478 Bitcoins. Acquired for $3.6 billion at an average price of $29,861 per Bitcoin. Holy cow. Just to give you a frame of reference, El Salvador only holds 1,500 Bitcoin. Okay? So Sailor literally holds 100 times more Bitcoin than a nation state. I think that's absolutely insane. But hey, man, this guy's going all in. And look, we're not billionaires, right? But I'm all in. I know Phil's all in, right? So, I think that's conviction. I think that every Bitcoiner does that. He just happens to have a lot more resources, and he happens to have a billion-dollar company behind it that he could essentially, borrow against to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. But make no mistake, guys, just like Phil and I, he is putting his future, his name, his reputation on Bitcoin and the success of Bitcoin. So kudos to Sailor, and leave some kernels at least for the rest of us, bro. Phil?
Okay, so not to rain on the Sailor parade, right? But at the same time, how much does he hold personally in you know what I mean, on a hardware wallet or on a private Bitcoin node and stuff like that? Not that that matters, but I'm just saying, like, when it's held by a corporation, it's kind of held, in a treasury. I don't know. I'm just saying, it's like, I think it's awesome and everything, but at the same time, I don't know. I was excited, right? I'm super excited that he buys Bitcoin and that he loves Bitcoin and that he's a fantastic spokesperson for Bitcoin. I mean, he has given definitely some of the most amazing analogies about Bitcoin, which, really resonates with many people, and hats off. But I'm very curious, like, how much does he actually hold himself in a hardware wallet?
I know that he holds some personally, but I think you make a really good point, and I'm actually very glad that you brought this up. And Owie Dieter Bob, right, the most toxic Bitcoiner on Bitcoin Twitter, you either love him or you hate him, right, says, to quote his tweet, and I'll pop it up, like always, guys, MicroStrategy has bought 122k Bitcoin, but will never take self-custody. So why wouldn't Coinbase sell the coins? The act of acquiring Bitcoin is not complete until you take in self-custody. Sailor's MicroStrategy has acquired 0 Bitcoin. Those are even more. Those are very good points by Owie, because look, at the end of the day, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, right? Right? And I know there's a solution for institutions, because what we saw from Jack is that they actually released an open source kind of instructional thing to essentially say, this is how you could take self-custody. We know for a fact that Square is taking self-custody of their Bitcoin. So it is possible for institutions to take self-custody. So, and I agree with Owie, dude. It's not good that you're trusting Coinbase, out of all people, to hold your Bitcoin. The rehypothecation risk there is huge. You're still trusting someone else with your money, which defeats, literally, in my opinion, Phil, the entire point of buying Bitcoin.
Coinbase was kind of like a drug dealer. If people need to remember, once upon a time, like in the not too distant past, they were essentially, if you followed one of these quote unquote like crypto courses, like they made you go through these like little exercises, and then they'd give you some free shitcoin, right? Like that's the same thing as a peddler, to get you addicted. Anyways, I digress. I wouldn't want to be holding all those fields of corn with them. But, he's a multi-billionaire and I'm not. So maybe he knows something I do not.
No, dude,
I'm willing to see that,
Really, dude, I agree with that. I agree with Owie here.
I do agree with Owie, but maybe I'm just a fool, man.
Not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Period. That's just the reality of it. So
that is true.
Man, very interesting. Anyways, this is hey, you're getting the toxic perspective. This is what Simply Bitcoin's all about. I don't think you'll hear that perspective on any other channel, Bitcoin channel. Anyways, moving on. Check this out, Phil. Amazon server outage took down a decentralized crypto exchange. And I love the title. How decentralized is decentralized finance? Remember what we've been talking about?
This is a fail, Nico.
Remember we were talking... No, it's news. It's news because Amazon Web Services went down and I wanted to cover it. But anyways, with the rise of so-called decentralized finance or DeFi, a wave of new cryptocurrency projects that seek to replicate financial services on the blockchain without intermediaries, an important question has emerged. How decentralized is all of this stuff really? As it turns out, we've been saying this for a long time. As it turns out, some of what makes up Web3, which DeFi falls within, is dependent on centralized infrastructure. On Tuesday, we've been saying that as well. On Tuesday, Amazon Web Services experienced an outage in its key US East 1 region that affected numerous websites from Disney Plus to Vice's own backend, as well as Amazon warehouse operations. Caught in the crossfire was DYDX, a so-called decentralized exchange on Ethereum for cryptocurrency derivatives that has raised millions from investors, including Phil. I looked this one up for you. Who is that? Who is that, Phil? That's one of your favorite.
That's A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz.
Andreessen Horowitz, right?
Yep.
Anyways, they're all interconnected. So check this out, right? So we already know that it affected some, decentralized shitcoin exchange. But let's actually look at Ethereum's node count, which we have looked at in the past, right? Because they're so resource intensive, right? Because remember, the major part of the fork wars was that so that Bitcoin could keep its block size so the necessary resources to run a Bitcoin node were low enough and cheap enough so that it could be distributed enough. Ethereum's node on the other side is extremely resource intensive, which means only people that can afford to buy that much hardware are people to run it. But most people, the majority of people, don't have the needs to have a supercomputer in their households, right? And you compare that to a Bitcoin node, it only costs you what, like $200 to buy a Raspberry Pi and a cheap hard drive? And check this out. Here are the actual stats. Almost 70% of Ethereum nodes are hosted in server farms. And we know for a fact that 33% of those are hosted with AWS. So, we already know AWS goes down. So, you could have made an argument that when AWS went down, a large percentage of those Ethereum nodes went down with it. Now let's compare that with Bitcoin, right? These are all of Bitcoin's nodes. Look how distributed they are in, I would say, most countries, right? We have the majority, which is beautiful. I love this, that the reason that is not applicable is because they're running through Tor and you don't know where they are. And unlike nodes that are run in giant server farms, you know exactly where those nodes are, which means that there is a metaphorical head to chop off if you are a hostile government. Then the rest, 12% is run in Germany, 12% is run in the United States, 3.75% is run in France, etc., etc. The whole point of this, and what I'm trying to get at, guys, is that Bitcoin's nodes are distributed, meaning the network is decentralized. Meaning, if we already know that there was a hard fork for Ethereum a couple days ago, which we covered on this show, if you wanted to make an upgrade to the Ethereum network, guess what? You're going to have to convince every single person running a node all around the world, running their own personal Bitcoin software on their tiny little Bitcoin computer, or you could be running it on a regular computer, right? And that is not a bug, that is a feature, right? The whole point of a cryptocurrency is decentralization, something that Ethereum and BSV, and I'm pissed off because of those BSV comments, have completely abandoned for faster transactions per second. But as Samson Mao has pointed out on his Twitter account, what's important is not the transactions per second. What's important is the value transacted per second. And Bitcoin is leading the pack by magnitudes of, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'll play a really cool graphic for you guys instead. Phil? You're muted, my friend.
I am muted. I'm sorry. I was going to say that graphic is absolutely amazing. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Okay, so that was a really great little graphic that you showed about the ETH charts, about the node counts and where they were, and in comparison to Bitcoin. So I think it's safe to say that Bitcoin has sufficient decentralization, and it's interesting that people look at this and they take it for granted. They don't realize that this giant monetary system that is transferring billions of dollars seamlessly is doing this all over the world, and in some cases we don't even know where some of these nodes are. Okay, so this is absolutely fantastic. And just to point out, right, the nodes are not processing transactions. The nodes validate transactions. It's the miners, okay, that are processing the transaction. So it's a little bit. There's two parts to it, right? There's the validation nodes and there's the mining nodes, which one day we're going to do a little video explaining the difference between the two. But anyways, okay. Besides that, I'm just, you know what? That looking at those charts just made me more bullish. I could say that. I can definitely say that with confidence. That made me more bullish looking at that. And you know what? The wall is getting higher to climb for the shitcoiners, okay? The wall is getting a lot higher to climb because the reality is that we've said this 1,000 times before. They had every single one of these projects has an expectation of value. Nobody seems to understand when you have a head to cut off, it is not the same thing as Bitcoin. It's just not. I know you want to believe it is, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's not. And the other point is, I saw some tweet by Evan Van Mess. I was tagged in it by, and I do apologize, I don't remember which fellow pleb. I'm sorry. It just happened this evening. But he was talking about Ethereum being Web 3.0 and Bitcoin being a meme coin. I highly doubt that Web 3.0, okay, was designed to be a pre-mined affinity scam, okay, that gets forked in secret, okay, right? Forked in secret and propels further scams to rob people of their money. And I'm sorry, for every one person that you have that went and made a whole bunch of money, you got thousands of bag holders that are sitting there broke, listening to this crap, listening to a pipe dream, hoping that, this is going to be all built on Ethereum. It's not. It's not being built on Ethereum. None of those services need to actually be money. I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times again. None of those services need to be money. You need to start understanding that.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. But, Phil, I want to pivot a little bit.
Woo!
Very, very good news, and it's definitely a good day to be a Floridian. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another Bitcoin state. We have Texas, we have Wyoming, and now we have Florida, baby. Which we've been saying for a long time, right? We want to have as many Bitcoin strongholds as possible, and the day has come. Check out this article by our friends at Bitcoin Magazine. Florida Governor, we welcome Bitcoin. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has reportedly proposed programs to make his state friendlier to Bitcoin innovation. The governor's move gives Miami Mayor Francis Suarez state-level support, adding to the previous aid received at the county level. Our view as the state government is this is something that we welcome, and we want to make sure that the state government is Bitcoin and shitcoin friendly, DeSantis said, according to a Bloomberg report. DeSantis proposed a program to enable businesses in Florida to pay state fees in Bitcoin and shitcoin, among other cryptocurrency-related proposals included in the state's budget for next year. The move is an attempt to attract further Bitcoin investment to Florida. Remember what I told you about the incentives, guys? Wyoming wants Wyoming wants Bitcoin business. Texas wants Bitcoin business. And now Florida, baby, wants Bitcoin business. This year, the state has seen an influx of related entrepreneurs and businesses as new developments and welcoming officials plug into the Bitcoin narrative. Ah, there it is. Suarez started these efforts advocating for friendlier regulation and novel developments at the city level to enable the flourishing of Bitcoin-related innovation. Now, I'm going to get into a more complex topic, guys, but I want you guys to tie it in. Remember, this is all about connecting the dots. Check out this article by justsecurity.org. Reestablishing Florida's state guard won't give DeSantis a private army free of federal control. So recently, DeSantis, I'll read the article, explain it, and then I'll explain why this is important. Last Thursday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced that he wants to reestablish the Florida State Guard, the state's defunct defense force that was active between 1941 and 1947. He argued that this force would enhance the state's flexibility and ability to respond to a crisis, saying that unlike the Florida National Guard, it would not be encumbered by the federal government. Okay, so what the F does this have to do with Bitcoin? Guys, we've been saying this for a long time. The ones to benefit from Bitcoin the most are states. The one to least benefit from Bitcoin is the federal government because of the dollar. What I suspect is going to happen, and we've talked about this many times on this channel, is that Bitcoin is going to be legal tender on a state level before it becomes legal tender on a federal level. In fact, I don't see it becoming legal tender on a federal level because the federal government has everything to lose. Their power stems from the power of the money printer. So when you see a state governor trying to take more sovereignty into his own hands, which is what essentially establishing this, this unit of the National Guard of Florida, right? You're seeing a governor who's willing to stand up to the federal government. So you kind of incorporate this into Bitcoin, right? And what happens in Florida if you see what's already happening in Texas and Wyoming, where a large percentage of their economy is coming from Bitcoin businesses? What happens in Florida if that starts to be the case? But the federal government starts to give Bitcoin a harder and harder and harder time. What do you think Florida is going to do? It's going to do exactly what Texas is doing. It's going to do exactly what Wyoming is doing. Florida is Bitcoin country. Leave us alone. And in the process of doing that, Bitcoin gives them the power to do that because all of a sudden now they're getting their wealth not from the federal government's money, not from the state, not from the money that's coming from Washington, D.C., but from Bitcoin itself. So I think, and I think this is a very bold prediction, Phil, but what you'll see eventually, and I think that as these Bitcoin companies gain more and more influence in these states, I suspect one of these states, hopefully soon, is going to start allocating part of their treasury, not in dollars, but in Bitcoin. Phil?
I think, so I agree with you, but I also think that once that happens, it becomes a race and it becomes a domino effect because let's be honest, right? Once one state shows the fruits of that action, other states are going to want to follow. And I'll tell you something else. I believe that, interestingly enough, right, on the tails of what you're saying, I think it might be some of the poorer states right now that hop on that bandwagon sooner than later because they're the ones that have to fix a lot of state infrastructure. I mean,
that's what you see with Wyoming. You see that, right? That's one of the reasons that Wyoming was so open to Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm. And why not, right? Like, why not? So I think other states, as well, like if I'm not mistaken, I think Kentucky is fairly impoverished as well, right? Didn't we see something about miners moving out to Kentucky or something like that? But I think that this is just going to become more and more prevalent because, look, the reality is that, you can set these up, right? You can set up miners in all of these different places. It doesn't really make a difference. And not only that, but there's a lot of mining rigs that are designed for remote locations as well. So this works in all types of environments and communities. And look, that's one step closer to what we term as, hyper-Bitcoinization.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Very, very good news, guys. Remember, we've been saying this, we want more Bitcoin Alamo states, more Bitcoin bunker states that stand up to the federal government, because that's really where the clash is. That's really where the central authority of the dollar is in Washington D.C., right? And that's where the federal government is based. And I think Bitcoin is more better served towards the local jurisdictions more so than the federal jurisdiction from the federal government, because essentially what Bitcoin does is it takes power away from them. It takes power away from them. That's just the reality of it. So this is going to get spicy. We've been saying so, but I'm just glad that Florida followed in Texas's footsteps. But I'm not surprised, because they don't want to get left behind, right? And that's exactly what you're seeing. But anyways, Phil, there was an open source software release today. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Software releases. The software releases are brought to you by CipherSafe. Check them out, ciphersafe.io. All right, I've got the Cipher Wheel. Store your private seed in the Cipher Wheel. I know Nico is going to be getting a grid safe or something like that. Anyways, look, this thing is pet-proof, tamper-proof. Best way to store your seed. The link is down below. We've got Specter Desktop version 1.7.2 that was released. Awesome piece of software. I have it. I use it. It's on the MyNode. You can also get their do-it-yourself hardware wallet, but that's not what the software release is for. Anyways, Specter Desktop version 1.7.2 down below.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. Phil, also, why don't you tell everybody where to find us?
That's right. I'm sorry. How do I forget this stuff? Okay, audio only. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on Anchor. And, of course, you can always find us. We record
Monday through Saturday.
We drop the episodes Monday through Saturday.
Thank you, Phil. Awesome, guys. That was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And, of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from all the fiat money printing central banks and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin.
Governments figured out long ago, endless money printing funds, never-ending wars.